Diamond Creek Farm presents Southwind Frank, a force of nature who tore through the 2-year-old ranks and left a lasting impression on everything in his path.
It's all Southwind Frank, 2.5 lengths in front. Southwind Frank wins the Breeders' Crown.
Southwind Frank is powering past on the outside. Southwind Frank wrapped up in the first Dancer division.
With the wind at your back, there's no limit to how far you can go. Southwind Frank, standing at Diamond Creek Farm.
Derick Giwner along with Matt Rose for the final edition of 2018 for the Harness Spotlight. We're going to take a look at a couple of races, one at the Meadowlands and one at the Meadows. So we have a meadow theme. And we're going to start on Friday at the Meadowlands and finish on Monday at the Meadows, where Foiled Again will make his final start of his career.
In the Foiled Again farewell open pace. How many times have we discussed Foiled Again?
He's got to be the leading horse we've discussed on this show over the last few years.
It's amazing, though. It seems like, last week, he was stuck on 99 wins. All of a sudden, you look down, he's got 109 wins, going for 110 career to wrap up just one of the most incredible horse racing careers of all time.
No doubt. And listen, they've probably given him, 2 or 3 of those wins in some easy spots, but he's earned some other ones in some tougher spots. He loves this time of year, always races well, and he's come through. But before we get to Foiled Again, we're going to get to the Meadowlands. It's race number 8 on Friday. It kicks off the $50,000 guaranteed pick 4. Non-win is a $15,000 in last 5. As you can see, the morning line favorite is number 10, Rock of Cashel from the far outside,
who I'm automatically going to try to beat. There's a couple other conditions in this race. Also eligible, non-win is a $50,000 2018, or non-win is a $125 lifetime, or 3-year-olds. And the 3-year-old condition makes it interesting because you have a recent Ron Burke acquisition from a couple of months ago in the one-horse Winning Shadow, who's just been on an absolute tear over at Yonkers. I believe his last few performance comments were much the best, impressive, much the best, or some to that extent. And that makes this a very interesting
race. You were dead
race.
right. That's exactly what it says on the form here.
I know, because I think I wrote them. But that's what makes this an interesting race. He's facing some good seasoned veterans. I mentioned Rock of Cashel, who, I see 10 hole, I see 3-1 morning line. I'm not quite sure he's going to go off the favor in this spot.
Maybe it's those 9 wins over the surface in the last 3 years that have...
Yeah, but you know what? This horse always leaves me a little short. Whenever I try to follow him, whenever I try to play him, poor trip, comes up a little short, flattens out, just misses. I know he's got 6 wins this year, 7 wins last year. Just always seems like he's a little bit camera shy. And to me, he's an automatic try to play against.
He's a horse that can win, but you're not running to the windows to go play him.
Exactly. So, you know what? Looking over this race, there's a lot of question marks in this race. I'm going to stick on the 3-year-old bandwagon to tackle older horses here and just keep the streak going with the rail horse Winning Shadow. Yannick Gingras picking up the drive now for Ron Burke after, like I said, just dominating over Yonkers. I know it's probably softer or less seasoned competition, but he just looks so good, just jogging. Want to give him another shot here?
Listen, I couldn't fault anyone for taking a shot with Winning Shadow. I mean, I really don't know what he's going to do on the big track. I'm not sure that he's been on. I think he qualified a couple of times on it, maybe, if memory serves. But I'm not going that way. I think he'll probably be the favorite come post time. And so I'm going to avoid him. I think the 5 Osvaldo Blue Chip looks pretty good at 10-1. Not my top pick, but
very sharp. Second best at 36-1 and 72-1 in his last 2 starts.
And he was second behind Milady's Monet, who would be 3-5 in this field without a doubt. Yes. My top pick here is number 3, Papi Go-Go. I went with this one last week, was on the lead, and completely disappointed. But I think it's worth mentioning that was a complete closer's track. I think only 2 horses out of 14 races were on the lead at the half and won the race. Speed was not going well that day. The start before that, I think, is deceptively, a deceptive line completely. That horse was loaded with trot as far as I was concerned in the stretch. Just the trip didn't go his way. He was sitting last. There was no way he was winning. I think this is a great spot, dropping down, I'm really going to be surprised if he doesn't put in a really big effort here. And he's raced well here in the past. He's got 3 wins on the year here.
Yeah, you know what? He's shipped down from, I believe, somewhere in the Maritimes or Charlottetown or something. And I remember he shipped into Yonkers and made looked like he was loaded with trot. I think he had a couple break-in problems. Clearly, he's over that now. But I don't know. I think it just looks like he might be tailing off a little bit. That line 2 back in the preferred, yeah, it's deceptive. But meanwhile, I look, he went off 5-1 with Dave Miller, and it looks like he never even got involved.
He was facing Trolley, who's been kind of, until last week was a killer. Well, last week, another horse that was on the lead on a track that wasn't favoring horses on the lead, and I think he finished second. I mean, it wasn't bad, or third. So he raced well, but speed just wasn't doing well for whatever reason. Maybe the cold weather tends to do that. There's been a lot of rain. I think we're 5th overall for the New York metro area in total rainfall for the year, over the last 100 years. So it's been a wet year. I think we'll get a good price. Vinny Ginsburg's taken over the drive, and he could certainly get the job done.
You'll probably get around 6-1 on him. I'm not going to use him. I'm just going to go with the theory that he's tailing off a little bit. I know it was a tiring track last week, but like you said, no excuse. I'll stick with Winning Shadow on top. Maybe use a few prices underneath. Tober, 10-year-old veteran, closing in at 900,000 lifetime. He's capable of sitting close to the pace and shaking free with some trot. Osvaldo Blue Chip, just good rallies his last 2 at big prices. Majestic Presence, Andy Miller for Julie Miller could be forwardly placed. I guess I'll throw Rocket Cashelin underneath. Of course, I'm not going to use his Rubber Duck, who, if that race last start at Yonkers, if he wasn't just so completely flat, I would definitely consider him here because his prior races at Dover.
Maybe the Rubber Duck doesn't like the slop.
Whatever the case was,
he's not a true rubber ducky.
You would think a rubber ducky would like it wet, but regardless, he was completely flat. Obviously, he's much better than that. He wouldn't shock me, but I'll try to beat him as well.
Okay.
Go with the 3-year-old Winning Shadow.
Race safe Friday at the Meadowlands. Start of the pick 4. Matt's going with number 1, Winning Shadow, and I'm going with number 3, Papi Go-Go. And we're going to go to Monday, the 31st. It's New Year's Eve at the Meadows, and we have the 10th race, which is an invitational. 8 horses lined up on the gate, and number 8, unfortunately for him in his final start, he's drew post 8. It's foiled again.
I mean, what can I say? It's just been an absolute pleasure to watch this horse, to talk about this horse, to follow this horse. I remember him in overnight races at Yonkers in 2007, racing on Tuesday nights, and like a non-winners a 2 or a non-winners a 4 or something like that, racing in overnights at Freehold or a I want to say the windshield wiper pace series or something like that for kind of cheaper 3-year-olds. It's amazing, and all these years later, it all comes down to this: his final start. It's actually kind of a bittersweet moment, I guess. But geez, 8-hole and all. Yannick Gingras going to the Meadows to drive him, fittingly. I don't know what to say. Let's get him home. That's all I can say.
Well, obviously, post 8 is going to be difficult. He's won 3 in a row, and we're going to take a look at his last win, which was his last start in Canada. He's coming first up here if they're sitting the 3-hole, and he's going to roll right by.
Yeah, you know what? That was a good horse. Alexis Jackpot is a pretty good horse who waltzed around the track 28, 56, 124, and 2. And foiled again, who was very content to tuck and sit third and was gapping a little bit until he was called upon. And you see him here, and he just...
Yeah, he won pretty easily in the end of this race.
Very easily. I mean, look at this. Does this look like an old, tired 14-year-old making his 330th start? He looks like he can go for another 4 or 5 years.
Listen, there's no doubt about it. The question comes here, though. He's got post 8. How could he possibly? He doesn't have the gate speed that he used to have when he was younger. How's he getting into this race? I mean, the 2 has some speed. The 5 has speed. Maybe the 7 shows speed.
Well, so the 7 is a stablemate. Stablemate.
That's the only angle I can see where maybe he goes really fast and tries to set it up for foiled again.
No,
that's the only angle I can.
Honestly, I think he stays out of his way. He hasn't really shown that much speed.
He left last week down in class.
It was like drop down speed.
But this is a similar race. If you look at this race top to bottom, the 5's coming out of the same race as the 7, and the 7 beat the 5 last week. The 5 and the 2, the 2 actually raced in a cheaper class, albeit he won at Northfield last time. I mean, up and down, these horses are basically all at the same level. So
Right.
this is still the same class drop, basically, as far as I'm concerned, that the 7 got last week. And I'm making him my top pick in here. I don't
Really?
understand why he's 8-1. He won last time at this level. He was bet. Dave Palone's getting the drive this week. Can't argue with
The
that.
only question is, like, how forwardly placed is he? Especially if you got to assume, yes, Foiled Again lacks, a strong gate speed, right from the start. But he's got to be, he's not going to be getting away 8th here. I can't imagine that. And I don't think.
Where's he going to get away? Maybe he can get away 4th or 5th.
He's got.
Listen, if he puts in the effort he put in last week at Mohawk.
He left the gate last week at Mohawk.
He could come away 5th, come first over and win.
Yeah.
That was a serious effort. I wouldn't be shocked if he did it.
I think he leaves and he gets a Foiled Again, a well-deserved respect tuck maybe somewhere. You got to imagine Shooter's Dream is leaving. You get an Aaron Merriman in the bike. He loves to leave with everything, and that horse tried to take it down the road at Northfield. You know what? I don't see really a ton of speed inside of him. Nathan Field's good. He's been very sharp off a claim, but I don't really know where he fits here. Maybe underneath. The rail horse knocking around doesn't look like he gets it looks like he's very slow off the gate. I think it's a crapshoot underneath who I have to select. Who I am selecting is Foiled Again. I just think he does get away mid-pack somewhere, and as long as the third quarter, if he has to tip and make a second move, as long as the third quarter isn't too quick, where there's someone making like a bottom-out try, and sometimes that happens on the 5-ace track where you kind of get hung in no man's land on the rim in a fast third split. Gee, how can you not? How can you, whether you want to bet him or not, how can you look anywhere else but Foiled Again?
Regardless of the fact that I'm selecting against Foiled Again with Southwind Yukon, number 7. I mean, obviously myself, as well as probably everyone else, except for maybe the 7 other drivers, 7 other trainers and owners, are rooting for Foiled Again. I mean, everyone wants to see Foiled Again go out a winner. I want to see Foiled Again go out a winner. It'll be win number 110. That's a nice even number. Be 7.64 million in earnings. I mean, what horse has done everything. He's basically gave me a career of races to talk about for the last 10 years, and
Unbelievable.
I'm just glad we get to talk about him one final time. You have any closing words about Foiled Again, race 10 at the Meadows on Monday?
Do I have any just get it done, safe trip, happy retirement. Unless he wants to come back and race in some amateur events or something.
And I'm available.
I was just going to say you could dust off your colors.
I'm available for amateur drives next year.
I'm sure he'd be thrilled to have you sitting behind him.
Listen,
but happy retirement.
I'll be thrilled to be sitting behind a horse where he just knows what he's got to do.
Yeah, you know what? You don't even have to do anything. Just stay out of his. Just let him. Just stay out of his way. Just sit there and hold on.
I'm all in.
But you know what? Let's just get it done. Safe trip. Go out a winner. Just a great story, and I don't know what else to say.
Race 10, New Year's Eve, Foiled Again retirement race. That's the harness spotlight for this weekend. Good luck.